All right, so it is 9:01, so I will start our meeting, and I will ask everyone to rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. 14 porti il se porti la gloire, ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Stand on guard for thee.
So, curious as to how long it took to find that one. So I'll have to practice my French a little bit next time. All right. So that brings us to item 1.0 on our agenda, additions to the agenda. Better put my glasses on here for this portion. Any additions?
Yeah, could we possibly look at a closed session for library?
As part of the part of this agenda? Do you want to? Okay. We do have a bit of a busy day today, so we'll see what we can get done. Okay. Yeah, I think we have a closed section on our GMP. We can maybe add that too. All right, can I get someone to adopt the agenda? Councillor Dodds, all in favor? It is carried. Sorry, all opposed, Bill? Corrections or amendments to the March 24th, 2021 regular meeting of council minutes? Can I get a member of council to make a motion to adopt March 24th, 2021 regular meeting of council minutes? Councillor Kamana, all in favor? That is carried. So we do have two proclamations today. The first proclamation, and I think we also have a delegation speaking to this in just a moment, but proclamation is for April 22nd, 2021, which is Earth Day. Whereas the global community now faces extraordinary challenges such as environmental degradation, climate change, food and water shortages, and global health issues. And whereas all people, regardless of race, gender, income, or geography, have a moral right to a healthy, sustainable environment. And whereas a green economy can be achieved on the individual level through educational efforts, public policy, and consumer activism campaigns. Whereas it is understood that the citizens of the global community must step forward and take action to create positive environmental change to combat the aforementioned global challenges. Whereas it is necessary to broaden the diversity and diversify the environmental movement to achieve maximum success. Therefore, I, Michael Dirksen, Mayor of the town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2021 as Earth Day in the town of Drayton Valley. I should have grabbed some water. All right. And then our second proclamation, I think just before I make this proclamation, of all the proclamations we make, this is probably one of the most significant ones, or it is the most significant one, just to remember the National Day of Mourning. If we look back nearly 3.5 years ago, we did lose a member of our team. And this is a day that, well, as every day we do remember Tyson Titanic. So the National Day of Mourning, April 28th, does have some significance for the town of Drayton Valley. So, whereas the National Day of Mourning offers us an opportunity to recognize the sacrifices made by the world's workers who have died or have been injured on the job, and whereas workplace accidents claim the lives of more than 1,000 Canadian workers each year, leaving children without parents, families facing hardship and headache, and communities struggling with loss. And whereas recognition of these deaths will contribute to the renowned commitment to create and provide decent, safe working conditions that foster and promote culture of safety, and whereas it is in the public's interest for civic and industry leaders to advocate for safe working conditions for workers in their charge, and whereas in 2020, 150 workers in Alberta died as a result of workplace injury or illness, and whereas our ultimate goal is to send all of our town of Drayton Valley staff home safely at the end of each day. Therefore, I, Michael Dirksen, Mayor of the town of Drayton Valley, do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2021 as National Day of Mourning in the town of Drayton Valley, and order that the flags of the Civic Center be lowered to half-mast at that day. So that one does have a lot of significance for our community, so I hope that everyone takes some time out on April 28th. As part of our ongoing, commitment to recognizing the significant members of our community, and we have a lot of them, and so we've started chipping away at it a little by little. And our community spotlight today is Sarah Bourgeois Butler. She did decline the invitation to come in today, and we certainly, we do respect that with some of the changing of the provincial mandates, but we do still want to take the opportunity to recognize her work. I believe she's a watercolor artist in our community, and one that moving forward, we are looking to bring the arts and culture to our community, and we know that some groups looking to make some paintings on the side of buildings, and some of the outcry that may cause for whatever unbeknownst reason to me. But I think it's important that we recognize these people in our community for the work that they do, and keep moving that needle forward to bring the arts and culture to Drayton Valley. And whenever she has a chance, we do look forward to seeing her in our council chambers, but we will send her some recognition for her efforts for our community. So with that, we move on to our delegations, and we do have our first delegation from the Rotary Club of Drayton Valley, which is Mr. Rob McIntosh. Welcome, Mr. McIntosh. Can you hear us? I cannot hear you, though. Can we get... Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah, they kept me on a tight leash, Mr. Mayor.
They got the music to play you out after 5 minutes.
There you go, yes. It's a pleasure, hello, council, mayor, administration. Thank you for the opportunity for the Rotary Club to invite a short delegation to you today. Can you hear me okay now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, so then if the breweries running the WebEx system are allowing me to screen share, I can bring up the presentation now. Am I allowed to do that? I'm gonna try to.
Okay, I think we're...
So, can you, you're gonna have to allow me to be able to share screen.
Are you saying it should be good? Yeah, I think we've set you as presenter.
Okay, let's see if we can. So it's not letting me get on to present right now.
All right. We have the presentation in council chambers right now.
Do you have it showing there now? Can you see it? If you could advance the slides, just do it that way, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, yeah, so we have it showing up on our,
Okay, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to share a few thoughts and join you in proclaiming Earth Day as well. One of the big things, if we move to the second slide, if we can advance to slide 2 there. There we go. So this year is a special year for the Rotary Club, for Rotary International, because Rotary has declared, it's recently in 2021, formally added the environment to its currently 6 areas of focus. So the environment now becomes a 7th area of focus for Rotary, and it joins peace building and conflict prevention, disease prevention and treatment, the water issues, maternal and child health, education, literacy, and economic development as one of the priority areas of focus for Rotary Club. If you're interested in anything more about what Rotary is doing in the area of making environment a bigger focus, there is a prominent section on the web page, which the third slide gives you the link to that. So the Rotary website has quite a bit about its new focus on the environment. If I go to the 4th slide, I think it's useful to recognize that it's been 4 decades of Rotary moving in the direction of making an environment a big focus. In 1990, the time made it particular president, and he created that focused Rotary Club across its clubs and members could.
you're breaking up on us, Rob.
And recently, the past president went into the purview of Rotary as a focal area. And okay, we're dealing with some. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, it's just a little choppy.
I'm sorry. Well, I'll talk less and we'll just focus on the slides. If we go to the 5th slide. Thank you. If we go to slide 5, thank you. The Rotary Foundation also has a significant funding program. And more than $18 million has been contributed in past years specifically to environmental initiatives. But that will grow and expand now that this is a new priority area. And I think it's worth noting the comments of the trustee chair that as the global population nears 8 billion, protecting the environment is a core component of any of our social and economic objectives as well. That's essentially one of the key points he's making here. If we go to the 6th slide, the local Drayton Valley Rotary Club has been very active in environment and sustainability long before Rotary International recently made it a priority focus. And I just pick out 4 areas in which the town has also been involved for the work our club has done in support of the environment. In 2005, the Rotary Club partnered with the Pembina Nordic Ski Club, and the town was an important part of that project to develop a community trail system focused on outdoor education and non-motorized recreation, helping people get out and enjoy the environment as well as protect it on the trail system by the cemetery. In 2009, our local Rotary Club was the first club in Alberta to take the theme of climate change and bring it to a profile for Rotary. When we hosted the province-wide district conference, we made climate change and sustainability one of the priority themes in that district conference, in which over 500 people participated here in Drayton Valley. In In 2019, the Rotary Club became the Legacy Project naming sponsor and the biggest partner of the Rotary Pembina Nordic Outdoor Education Center. And that was our major legacy project. And we note that the town was also a major sponsor of that, helping make it happen. And we appreciate the town's support for that. The Rotary Club did that in part because of the importance of allowing young people and all of our citizens and members and ratepayers to spend time in the outdoors in a way that has low impact and sustains the environment over the long term, as well as ensuring that young people and all people learn more about how to coexist with the environment in a way that preserves it for the future. Finally, I note that many individual members of our Rotary Club have been active in their own work life or in their personal life in leading and modeling and demonstrating progress to advance the environment. So it's something that's felt quite strongly by our club at the local level. Next slide. We were pleased to see your proclamation a minute ago, and we support that as well. Earth Day this year is actually a 3-day event, and if you haven't had the opportunity, it's worth going onto the Earth Day website and looking at the live streaming events. We'd encourage you to let the citizens of Drayton Valley know about those streaming events. You're able to help promote and make the public aware of the excellent video streaming that's available from Earth Day, from the Earth Day site. The link is right there. And again, it's important I note that the theme for Earth Day this year is to restore our Earth and 3 days of action on climate, 3 days of climate action, which really is the penultimate planetary crisis we face today, and one that we also have the opportunity to solve if we work together. Next slide, please. I'd just like to pause and reflect for a minute with council that this is not about business as usual. The vast majority of people in the scientific and environmental community believe that the current direction of human civilization, business as usual as we do it today, you'll have to click the next, advance the next click one. That the current direction of human civilization is fundamentally unsustainable, environmentally, socially, and economically, if we proceed with business as usual. However, click the next advance, please. But the good news is that the solutions are emerging, and that the rate of change in the right direction is accelerating, and the change agents will make that happen. We as Rotarians think of ourselves as constructive and positive change agents, and we look to the town of Drayton Valley and your political leadership to also be change agents. If you'll go to the next slide, please. And you'll just have to click on these to bring them up. Just go ahead and click right through until they all come up. I don't want to spend long, just go back. I won't address each of the components here, but I would ask council and administration to reflect on the fact that being an effective change agent towards environmental sustainability means looking at your role as a citizen, as an activist, an educator, a communicator, an innovator, a consultant, a catalyst, a bridge builder, a consumer, an investor, and most importantly, as an employee or an employer, and in your case, as an active and informed voter, and in particular, as a political leader. So you can be an agent of change. Rotarians see themselves as positive agents of change, and we look forward to working with the town of Drayton Valley to address these very serious, but also very solvable problems and turn them into a golden opportunity for the people of Alberta and the people of Drayton Valley. Last slide, please. So, as we celebrate our new area of focus for the Rotary Club and acknowledge Earth Day and join you in supporting the proclamation you have made for Earth Day, we applaud your efforts
Thank you very much, Mr. McIntosh, for your presentation and taking the time. Is there any questions? Councillor McGee?
Thanks, Rob. Tom here. Rob, I did a little, just a look-see through a Google onto the Rotary Club, and the quote that came to mind was the Rotary Club is there to foster harmony between communities and the environment, empower to access grants and other resources for local solutions. So it's to spur innovation. So my question is do we have a specific project that you guys have in mind, and how do we move forward?
So at the moment, Councillor McGee, thanks for the question. At the moment, Rotary is going through its strategic planning and prioritizing exercises on a go-forward basis. But in the last round, it did identify as one of its 3 priority areas for investment this year, the completion of the education materials and requirements and components to allow the outdoor education center that it built out at Pembina Nordic to be fully functional and be fully equipped to support outdoor and environmental education to both young people and adults. So that was one of the 3 priorities, and it's just, Rotary just announced a $50,000 increase, additional contribution towards the final completion of the internal components, educational materials and related for the outdoor education center. And I think, we encourage the town to find modest ways in any way that it can to put that facility over the top in terms of being fully ready to go. It's very, very close. Further to that, though, I think Rotary will continue to identify new priorities in other areas that relate to the new environmental goal, and will be able to come back to you in the near future as it rolls out additional projects that building on this mandate, because the formal Rotary International mandate has really just come out this last couple months.
Any other questions? All right, seeing no other questions, again, thank you very much for your time, Mr. McIntosh, and we appreciate the slides, and we do appreciate everything that the Rotary Club does in our community, so thank you for that.
Thank you for your time today, and we appreciate your proclamation, and good luck in the rest of your work, and the very best of luck to the town in advancing its work on sustainability and environmental protection, because as a municipality, we can be important leaders in those areas, so we wish you the best and encourage you to do that.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so that moves us to our second delegation, which is the RCMP stats from February and March of 2021, and we have Corporal Granger here today. So let's ask that you can come up to the podium. The mic should be live, and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, town councilors.
Good morning.
I apologize, Sergeant Matthews had an unexpected family emergency. So she really didn't give me any direction of what I'm supposed to do. All she basically did was gave me this sheet that I think you all have in front of you. So there, I guess I come up with something on my own, which probably is a mistake. But it kind of touches on page 3 of her report and her priorities, where it says Sergeant Matthews has attended several meetings over the past quarter, both in person and virtually, with many of the community stakeholders, working on an initiative to assist the increase in mental health calls. So that is something that I have, I guess, been really, front and center experiencing. So I kind of run some call volumes for the last quarter with regards to mental health calls for Drayton Valley and Brazeau County. So in the last quarter, from January to March in 2021, we've had 57 mental health calls that our members have been dealing with. That same time frame in 2020, we only had 23 calls. And then going back into 2019, again, it was only 28 calls. So it is something that has seen a significant increase. And as I discussed with Brazeau County yesterday in their meeting, the state of, I guess, the way Alberta Health Services is dealing with mental health calls now, it is tying up our members because we are obligated to transport mental health patients to Ponoka. So in the past, I was posted in Drayton Valley in 2012 to 2015. We could take mental health patients to the hospital here, and basically they would take control of that patient. In the last, since 2015, I guess in the last 5 years, things have changed significantly, and now Alberta Health has designated only certain hospitals that can handle mental health patients, but I guess it's put back on the RCMP to transport these people. And basically it's leaving us either paying overtime for somebody to come in, or it's leaving us short while policing, our detachment area. Personally, to me, it's a significant issue. The other issue that we're running into is the hospital will form someone as a mental health patient, and their security is lacking, and regularly that mental health patient per se escapes from the hospital. Then they call us, and our members are spending hours looking for the patient that has escaped, and that. So other issues we've had is where they're going to transport somebody in an ambulance, and then they request the RCMP to follow the ambulance all the way to Ponoka. Again, tying up our members, when, to me, there's something else that, could be handled better, so. So I don't know what else to tell you, so I guess if anybody has any questions with regards to Sergeant Matthews' report, I will see what I help if I can, so.
Yeah. No, we certainly appreciate taking the time, and it's very interesting to note the mental health calls. I'm actually glad you brought that up. I mean, you hear the anecdotal evidence of, with COVID and COVID fatigue and all those things, and you hear about the increase in mental health, but I think there's a real indication that we will start seeing more and more mental health issues in our communities, and that's not necessarily a short-term problem. That can bring into a much long-term problem, and one that I think our justice system as well as our elected officials need to note moving forward. So I do appreciate you taking that, bringing that forward. We do have some questions. I'll go to Councillor Ballas and then Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. You mentioned the transportation. Do you have an opinion as to what possibly the solution may be?
My opinion and the RCMP opinion probably is different. But, and that's the thing that we have discussed, with hospital security and the people that they do have there. And, I've had guys, their security people say that they're set up to be able to transport and to do that. But at this point, I guess they're not, I don't know if they're not designated or there's some issue, but they do have hospital security, and, that's, in my opinion, that, they should be able to take over that and and be able to transport.
Just a follow-up to that. In the transportation of the patient, what is the danger aspect of it versus them being transported by ambulance?
Honestly, I don't know. Because in the last months, we have transported, mental health patients, basically Alzheimer patient in their 70s that is not nonviolent, that is, no issue. We did have one guy where, was very violent and stuff, and we sent 2 members just in case something happened. And, that to me is not an issue. That's something that we can do. But most of the time, the patients are nonviolent. There's no issue, and it just baffles me why they constantly call us to do it.
So, just one more question. Thank you. So the direction of transportation is coming from whom? Is it K Division, Alberta Health? Who's directing this?
It's from Alberta Health, yeah, or from the hospital, I guess. Right, that's where our calls come from. If we pick somebody up and we Form 10 them under the Mental Health Act, which again is another whole issue that our members are expected to be able to assess somebody's mental stability and what they're doing and make that decision on the street of whether or not they should go to the hospital or not, which we are not trained for and is completely unfair in my opinion. But we take them to the hospital, then basically we're asked to stay at the hospital and guard them. And then if they're deemed that they need to go to Ponoka, then we're basically told that we need to transport them.
Councillor Wheeler?
Well, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. Sergeant Matthews usually starts with a song and dance, so if you'd like to prepare that for next time, we would be happy. But no, I think it's great that you bring your own perspective and bring something that we can focus on. A big piece of council's role here is advocacy when it comes to other levels of government. So if there's a topic that we can really get our teeth into and start working on, we need ideas and solutions. And we have our committee, I'm not sure how long Matthews is out, and you might be joining you guys' safety committee for a meeting or two, but that would be a really great topic for more information, discussion to bring something forward. So thank you for coming.
Councillor McGee?
Morning. You used the word escape from the hospital, and I thought, it's an interesting word. So I've now got somebody that I've taken into the hospital. There's no security. I know what happens when you go in, you do this and you do that, but we don't have the ability. And you also say that they have security there. Does that mean a nurse or a doctor? Or
No, there's actually, and I don't know where they come from or whatever. I'm guessing they work for AHS, but sometimes they're dispatched out of Rocky Mountain House, right? So if we take somebody in, then they say we have to wait there until somebody drives from Rocky Mountain House. They're in a security uniform and that, but again, it doesn't do anything because they're not taking control of the patient, right? And multiple times we've had where they want our member to stay, and it might be hours, and it leaves one person working, and that. So I've personally had to go to the hospital and tell the nurses, no, our member is not staying because we have other calls that we have to attend to. That's what their security's for, but they don't want to step up and take control of the situation.
So it seems to me that we're also not a designated hospital. Ponoka is, and those, and so if we have this many calls and it's probably happening all across all of the communities, but we should be raising that alarm and saying, listen, apparently we've got $650,000 that we're going to spend on the entrance for movement of people, and so that's going to, we should be including that, some sort of security area, security this, security, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, I guess, from, as Farrell, as Councillor Wheeler has pointed out, that we should put that in to our discussions, both at the policing committee and doctors' recruitment, and say we need to raise the profile of this and figure it out, because, and as Councillor Wheeler also said, it's good that you've brought a perspective, mistake or not. It's important to hear it, and so that we can raise that awareness and see if we can't progress to be a designated community that can not only help you out, but help our citizens, so.
Yeah, and that's it, like, we're, I guess, per se, lucky. It's basically a 5-hour trip for one of our members, right? Where, like, Jasper, if they're transporting, it's going to be all day for them to drive somebody to Penelton and that. So at least we get 5 hours out of our member's shift that they actually can work here. But
It's a cost.
yeah.
Councillor Gamana?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much coming and presenting to us in a short notice. Just gonna change the topic a little bit. On your stats there, I see that we have a decrease on both property and the personal crimes compared to last year. What we are hearing in the community is that there's always something happening, right? So when you include those stats into the stats here, is there a level that need to be not just a phone call, need to escalate it to something that's when it becomes a stat, or any phone call that comes become a stat?
Yeah, any phone call.
Any phone call comes, okay.
I think the increase, my opinion, and the increase in persons crimes, and that is also due to the lockdown, the mental health of our citizens, and the domestic violence, and that is increased. And again, it's the pressure that all of this has been put on the public.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Councillor Peebles?
Just a random thought. I have a TELUS guy installing a security system at my house right now. And so the doorbell cameras, all those kinds of things. Is there some program we have in town where we can opt in to having you guys have access, or do we have anything like that that is voluntary by the
Yes.
community?
Yes, that's something that they just set up. I don't know too much about it yet, but yes, there is a website for registering home security, and if you have cameras. I think we have 3 or 4 people that have registered so far and that, but yeah, I don't know what the website is offhand, but there is for sure.
Councillor McGee?
Just a sidebar, we had a citizen ask about registering their bicycles, and so putting a website together so that we register bicycles. Have we advanced that? I'm not sure who was responsible for that. But
I also think that they have advanced that too. Yep. Again, there is a website that they have just been working on to build.
That is a bike index, and that's being looked at through our committee, and Colton is getting ready to set it up.
All right, if there's no other questions, then again, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us, and all the best with the rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
So our final delegation is 7.3, which is Phil Dirks from the Matrix Group to talk about our 2020 audited financial statements. Welcome back.
Good morning, Mr.
morning.
Mayor, members of council. Just about took myself out there on a chair. I think, well, you might remember me. Anyways, my name is Phil Dirks, and I'm happy to be here to say a few words about the town's 2020 financial statements and audit. So I was just listening to the radio on the way here, and they were talking about flying the helicopter on Mars 300 million miles from Earth. It's a little bit more exciting than accounting, but we'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. Anyway, just before we get into the numbers, I think you've all heard most of this before, but I am required to remind you. So anyways, the auditor's job is to provide an opinion on the town's financial statements. The opinion, or the auditor's report, is attached to the town's financial statements. When we're doing our audit, we're required to follow Canadian auditing standards. Those are the standards that all auditors in Canada are required to follow in completing their audit. So some of the key points, sorry, I just gotta find my notes here. Some of the key points in the auditor's report, probably the most important part of the report is the opinion paragraph. And in the opinion paragraph, we're stating that the town's financial statements are in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So, clean opinion. The other things that are probably important to remember, and I won't read you the whole report. One of the key things that is included in the auditor's report, it indicates that the auditor's objectives are to provide reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So reasonable assurance equals approaching absolute assurance, but would never be absolute assurance. People could lie to us or withhold information, those kind of things. So just keep that in mind. But again, overall, in our opinion, the financial statements were in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. We did provide you with an audit plan earlier in the winter that discussed some of the auditing matters in further detail. So I'll spare you that right now unless you have questions. We can talk about that. But so yeah, overall, audit went very well. Thanks to town staff. Is Elvira in here? Oh, there. Okay. Thanks to Elvira for spearheading things and helping us get where we need to be today. So that's all I'm going to say about the auditor's report. We'll go talk about the numbers for a little bit, and I'll try to give you an overview of some of the key things. So if you're following along, if you have it in your agenda package, I'm on page 3 of the financial statements, the statement of financial position. So just starting at the top of the page there, town's financial assets include cash and receivables. Receivables is always a key for any audit. The risk is that you're not going to get the money. So that's really what we're concerned about, is show us the money. So anything that's on the receivables for, standard items, taxes, trade, and other receivables, we want to see that either money is approved to be coming in or that town has received it already after the end of the year. You'll notice there are a couple of things. Really, actually, the taxes are up a little bit, but the more important part was the trade and other. You'll see that is a pretty big number. Just so you know, there's a couple things in there. Town is owed some money from the Small Communities Fund for the South Sanitary Sewer Trunk, so that was about $3 million. And there's also MSI Capital, the 2020 allocation included in the $7 million. That was $1.7 million. So those two items are, definitely coming. It's just that they weren't here yet at the end of December. So again, key thing for us is, are you going to get the money, or did you get the money? And if you didn't get the money yet, is it coming? So the town does have an allowance for $657,000, which relates primarily to one tax property. I think you're aware of which one that is. But in our opinion, that's prudent. That doesn't mean you're not trying to get the money, but things are a little bit doubtful at this time. So just rounding out financial assets, the town still has a little bit of land held for resale, so total financial assets were just over $20 million. As far as liabilities the town has, various liabilities there you can see. Payables and accrued liabilities are main concern there is completeness. We want to make sure that everything that relates to the 2020 fiscal year got recorded. You see it's dropped a little bit from last year. It really has just to do with the timing of when bills are paid. Deferred revenue, town has $3.6 million of deferred revenue. So deferred revenue, just to remind you, again, is money the town's received but hasn't spent yet on items that it's been designated for. So the main items in there are federal gas tax money, and this is laid out in note 4 of the financial statements, and MSI capital money. So that's pretty standard for municipalities to have received some money and not spent it yet. That will become revenue in a future year when you spend it on the projects that are identified and the costs are incurred. Town also has a landfill closure, post-closure liability. You can see that was increased a little bit last year for inflation and tonnage that went into the landfill. So just to remind you, the way that works, it's a pretty significant estimate, but basically what we're trying to do is recognize that liability over the time that the landfill is filling up. So basically looking at capacity and so forth. And beyond that, the town also has $11 million of debt. So if you look in the notes, you can see that some of that, about half of it's from the Government of Alberta debentures, and then the Federation of Canadian Municipalities loan for a water treatment plant. So total liabilities were $21.8 million. The town's debt limits are required to be disclosed in the financial statements as in accordance with the Municipal Government Act. So
Mr. Dirks, just before you leave that slide, I look at, if we go back to the 2019, we show 28 million under financial assets, and then 2020 we have 20 million, so we're an $8 million difference in those two numbers. And I'm just curious, maybe you even mentioned it, but can you just focus a little bit on that and say, tell me what why I've got $8 million difference between those final figures?
yeah, the main difference is up here in cash. So cash has decreased primarily because of an increase in some of these receivables. Money hasn't come in yet. Plus you did quite a bit of capital work that you had to pay for this year. So we'll see that in a bit. But the main reason, those are the main reasons why the cash was decreased, and that's the main reason for the decrease in the financial assets.
Right, so we're short 8 million because somebody hasn't paid something?
No, I mean, it's a combination of things. So you're waiting for some money here. So when receivables go up, you know, the balance is in here instead of cash.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason. And then primarily just because of the capital activity last year was used cash, right? So those two items pretty much are the reason. So really, if you look down at the bottom here, you've shifted, and we're not actually to that slide yet, but when we get to capital assets, you'll see that number's gone up and your cash has gone down. And then, like I said, it's a combination of some of those things, but you're basically shifting assets from cash, financial assets, down to non-financial assets. Yeah, so the point with the debt limits is you're well within your debt limits still here. $25 million you could borrow from the province without asking Mr. Kenny for permission. So no issues there. You've used about 30% of your debt limit down here at the bottom. So let's just continue on to non-financial assets then. So again, with any municipality, largest non-financial asset is going to be capital assets. Sorry, I'm turning around all the time here. I didn't actually bring a presentation along for myself, so I should have brought a mirror, I guess. But anyways, you can see here, last year the town purchased $11.4 million of capital assets. And we've kind of summarized the more significant assets that were purchased and how they were funded over here. So these two numbers are on the financial statements. Total assets additions is disclosed in note 8, and then the capital revenue is in the bottom of the statement of operations. So, but you can see here, Councillor McGee, you had a shortfall here. So that's going to be covered through cash, right? So, other than that, just a quick look at the town's accumulated surplus. So total accumulated surplus was 124 million. As the case with most municipalities, 114,000 of that is tied up in roads, buildings, sewer systems, water systems, those kind of things. So you can't spend that. And in addition to that, the town has unrestricted surplus and operating capital reserves. So down here, you can see what I've called liquid surplus. So that's money that was available to be spent. And you can see that's dropped from 14 million down to 9 million. And again, that's the same reason I was just talking about due to the capital activity. So that's all I'll say about the statement of financial position. If we move on to the statement of operations, looking at operating revenue, total budget last year, 25.6 million. I'm on page 4 of your financial statements if you are following along. Total actual revenue was 24.1. Couple of things to note here, I've kind of highlighted in orange where there was some differences just to talk about. So obviously COVID had an impact on some of your operations last year. So up in sales and user charges here, you can see that some of that was due to COVID being rec activities, the daycare, those kind of things. Also, the utilities budget was a little higher than was actual. So those are the reasons for that difference. Government transfers, you can see that's a little bit higher than budget. So that has to do with the most money. So the town received the municipal operating support transfer. So that was about 540,000. So that wasn't budgeted. So that's why that's higher than budget. And other than that, rentals, again, you can see there the effect of COVID. So a lot of that has to do with ICE rentals, those kind of things. And some of those facilities were closed, so revenue is lower. The only other thing that wasn't highlighted there that maybe is worth noting is interest in or investment income was lower last year, down to 165. As we saw, cash was down and interest rates were also lower after the onset of COVID. So anyway, those are the main differences from budgets. So that's why you're about $1.4 million. Whoops, whoa. Sorry, wrong button. You're about $1.4 million less than budget on your operating revenue. So COVID, again, did have an impact on that. As far as expenses go, total expenses were 31 million. Budget was 23 or 24 million, let's say. Again, a couple of things to note there. As far as budget overages go, up in roads, some of that was to do with wages and utilities. Although wages in total were on budget, some of the allocations between the departments did cause some budget variances. Other than that, we can see that waste management costs were higher than budget. There were some extra charges from GFL as well as some extra leachate work. And we did see earlier on the statement of financial position the increase in the post-closure liability. So those all combined to increase that. Other than that, public health and welfare, again, COVID, pretty much the flip side of the sales and user charges comment, daycare, those kind of things did also result in some reduced costs. So those are the more significant budget variances other than amortization, 6.6 million. So if you were going to compare apples to apples there, you'd have to remove amortization. And if you did that, your total expenses would be 24.6 million compared to the budget of 23.9. So you were a little bit over budget on the expenses for the reasons we talked about. As far as the rest of the financial statements go, just to round out the statement of operations, so annual surplus deficit before other revenue was $7 million. That sounds horrifying. Again, you have to do a little bit of math there and remove amortization from that calculation if you want to get back to more of a cash basis. So if you did that, you actually would have been about $459,000 deficit for last year, operating deficit. Other revenue, again, I talked about it earlier. Government transfers for capital assets was 7.9 million, and we looked at that earlier. So that's what that's about. And the town also did get a few donations for various capital assets. So these revenue sources here at the bottom, this 8.1 million, that's revenue, but there's no costs in the statement of operations for those revenues as they're in the asset accounts. So annual surplus for accounting purposes was just over $1 million. The part at the bottom there is not in your financial statements. It's a little bit of an adjustment just to show you how things would look without amortization. So if we start at the top, come down to here, add back the amortization, like I said, adjusted deficit was about 459 for 2020 compared to your budget of 1.7 million. So again, about a $2 million difference, 1.4 million short on the revenues and a little bit over on the expenses for last year. As far as other items that are in the financial statements, again, wish I could tell you that there's something like color pictures or something great in here, but they're pretty much the same notes as last year. I think we've talked about most of the important things. The other thing maybe I'll just mention briefly, you do have a note at the back about COVID, and you might wonder, what's COVID? Anyways, in case you're not sure, in case you're not aware, we're letting you know that there's a pandemic in note 20 on page 21. No, actually, pretty standard disclosure these days for a set of financial statements, COVID obviously causing some uncertainty. So it really hasn't impacted the town's operations too much, but again, we're still have a little bit of uncertainty about how that could impact things going forward. So that's a little bit of an unusual disclosure, but not unusual in these times. So beyond the financial statements, we did also issue an audit findings report to council. So the auditing standards require us to report back to council about various items. Just summarize this here. So again, if you're looking in your agenda, you'd have the full letter, but we didn't have any, didn't discover any significant control deficiencies. There were no unusual accounting policies or practices, pretty standard accounting for a municipality. Town does make some significant estimates, and we've identified those on the screen there and in the letter, the most significant of which is the landfill closure post-closure liability and the allowance for doubtful accounts. We also talk about corrected and uncorrected misstatements in the report. So you might wonder, why would there be uncorrected misstatements if you've done an audit? If you remember, our auditor's report says the financial statements are not materially misstated, so that's there to basically give people, organizations, a bit of a buffer so things don't have to be totally perfect or the audits would never get completed. So that's not unusual. There's a small uncorrected amount at the end of the day, not nearly material in our opinion. We didn't have any difficulties during the audit. Everybody was more than cooperative in helping us get through things. So again, thanks to Elvira and the rest of the staff. Without going through an audit, you probably wonder, well, how bad can it be? It's not like going to the dentist or anything, but it's time consuming and a lot of questions and digging for information. So thank you. And that's all I had to say, unless somebody has some questions.
All right. Any questions? Councillor Gamana?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for coming and presenting to us today. Just thinking along the line of Councillor Maggie there about the cash assets that we had. So you mentioned that we had about a 4 million capital expenditure for from cash assets towards the capital assets. So just wondering, what the rest of it is. It again we couldn't recoup some of the the revenues, or because there's another about 3 million, if I'm not mistaken. Difference.
Thanks for your question. I think again, so the main question is why has cash gone down? Is that the main question?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the statement of cash flows on page 6 of the financial statements to get the full picture. Again, so it's a combination of various items. Like I said earlier, when receivables go up, that means cash isn't in the bank yet, so that had about a $3.6 million impact. Your payables, as we saw earlier, had decreased. Trade payables had decreased about $1.7 million from the year before. So again, that was using up some cash. And then the same thing with deferred revenue. So between those 3 items and the fact that you used some of your current year surplus to pay for some of those assets, that all would have been in combination leading to that decrease.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I know in years past, I believe you've had some colorful graphs that kind of put Drayton Valley's some of the ratios in line with other municipalities, and I think it's maybe the Alberta government that puts that together. Do you know if those are?
Yeah, they made it more difficult to get a hold of those, so that's why there isn't any. Anyway, I think that, Elvira, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, at least the place that I looked for those reports where we got an email from Municipal Affairs, they were not in the same format as they used to be. In fact, I didn't find them particularly useful. So anyway, but I did look back, and a couple of years ago I showed you some of those slides from the 2018 results, and the general gist of it at that point was, the town has a little bit more debt maybe than your counterparts. Your reserves are slightly lower. Your spending's a bit higher, but I think that has to do with the landfill. So you really have to when you look at some of those slides, they lump maybe 10 or 15 municipalities into one category, and then there may be some anomalies that would require some explaining, but generally speaking, probably the main comments were slightly more debt and a little less reserves. So, and that probably hasn't really changed too much in the last couple of years.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to come in and present to us, and yeah, as always, we appreciate the financial statements from last year, and I'm sure it'll help us make some decisions on our future year.
All right, well, nice chatting with you, and like I think I've told you before, if you think of something else, then you didn't ask me, and it's burning in your mind, and you can't go on without getting that off your chest, feel free to contact us, and we'll try to straighten things out for you. So,
All right,
all right,
appreciate it.
have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call a 7-minute break. Right, we will get back at it, except for the person I was about to call on isn't here. Our first decision item is 8.1, which is our 2020 audited financial statements. And Elvira Thompson. Ms. Thompson. We are on decision item 8.1.
So this is the acceptance of the audited financial statements. As is proper municipal protocol, the annual audit of the town's financial statement is conducted by an independent accounting firm, and the results of that audit are presented to council. Following the presentation by Metrics, council has the ability to accept the same as information. Administration recommends that council pass a resolution to accept the 2020 audited financial statements as information. Following the acceptance of the audit results, the Finance Department will finalize its year-end reporting, and once signed, publish the information on the town's website.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for administration? So we did have a delegation earlier today. If there's no questions, is there a councillor that would like to make a motion on this? Oh, Councillor Peebles.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council accepts the 2020 audited financial statements for the town of Drayton Valley as presented by Mr. Phil Dirks of Metrics Group LLP as information.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments, questions, or debate on that? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. All in favor of accepting the 2020 audited financial statements? That is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to 8.2, which is a request to waive building permits and off-site levy fees for Drayton Valley and Brazeau Aquatic Center. Mr. Mumbanga. I don't know, I'm terrible with your pronunciation of your name. I apologize.
That's perfect. Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councillors.
Good morning.
So as discussed at the March 24th Governance and Priority Committee meeting, the pandemic has placed quite some constraints on the overall budget of the pool project. And as such, the IPD team is requesting council approval to have administration waive building permit and off-site levy fees, which are fees charged for all new projects requiring building permits, including town-owned projects. So a breakdown of those fees is shown in table, if you could scroll down a little bit. Yeah.
Believe, so the package that the media has is the one that I have in front of me, and the numbers have changed. I have a separate handout, so maybe if you could, when you go through, just read out the numbers just for, or, okay.
Yeah, so I was just going to touch on that next. So the initial construction value that we had received from the IPD team was incorrect. So we recently received a new construction value of $14,122,786, which is about a $7.8 million difference. So that $7.8 million is fees for the IPD team consultants and the contractor. So we don't base building permit fees off of consultancy fees and contractor fees. We base the building permit fees off of the actual construction value, which means, so the construction value is cost of materials and labor minus fees that go to the consultants. So that's why you see the tables have different fees. So the building permit, the actual building permit fee is $127,105. But that is the only figure that changes in that table. The safety codes levy fee remains the same, the offsite levy fee remains the same, and the amount that goes to the inspections group remains the same as well. So additionally, we provided attachment 1, which is the 2021 Town of Drayton Valley tentative fee schedule, and attachment 2, which is policy PD-01-13, that is development and building permit costs for town projects and projects receiving town contributions, and attachments 3, which is the offsite levy bylaw 2008-14-E for your reference. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for administration on this? Okay. All right, is there a councillor that would like to make a motion on this item? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I move that council approves the request to waive the building permit and off-site levy fees only, minus the inspection group service fees and safety code levy fees.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Any comments, questions, or debate on it? I think just in the realm of simplicity, I mean, paying these fees is just moving money from one pocket to the other essentially, so I feel confident with the ability to waive these. So if there's nothing else, all in favor of waiving the fees? That is carried. Thank you very much. 8.3, Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board Bylaw, DVLB 2021-01, and Schedules A to E. We have Doug Winston-Smith here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you.
Good. I like to keep things positive. And speaking of positive, I arrived here to work in November 2017, and one of the first things I noticed was the bylaw was over 10 years old. I'll take the mask off. The bylaw was over 10 years old, and it needed to be updated. So we updated it in 2018. It was relatively hastily passed through the board and brought to council. There were some, well, I should say that the wording was sort of buried in some legalese. And as of December 31st, 2020, when our Rotary Library closed, it was time to open them up, take the references to the Rotary out of the bylaw, and to update some of the other issues that were still pressing from our update in 2018. So we did that, and we have the bylaw. It's gone through 3 readings of the board, one for each month of this year. So it has now been approved, and we're bringing it to council. This does offer some simplified terminology and better points of clarification on the card types that are available to residents, including a better definition of what defines the family card versus a parent or an adult, and the juvenile cards that fall under it. So this is just an update to the bylaw. There really wasn't a huge amount of content change from the 2018 version, but this is a more current and relevant document to our operations and organization.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. Is there any questions? Councillor McGee.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Reading a little bit about libraries and fines and fining people and people paying and all of the administrative things that happen with that, I would have thought that most libraries are going to phase that out. Do you have an opinion on that?
To phase out fees?
Yes.
Okay. So
Fines and fees, I think.
I hear you. So cards, we do not charge for cards. Generally speaking, we don't get a whole lot of non-residents seeking a library card here because of an introduction of new integrated library sharing. So the Me libraries, let's say they're coming from Edmonton, they're working here temporarily, they want to use the library. They don't need to get a library card at our library, they just use their Edmonton Public Library card. So we don't charge card fees as a general rule. In terms of the other fees, there are fees, because an item represents a property with a dollar value attached. If somebody loses or damages an item, that's a fine, and a property fine will not be waived. It can be negotiated at a lower price, possibly, but generally speaking, we don't negotiate for a reduction in fees when it regards a lost or damaged item. For late items, my staff, we are more than willing to accommodate lifestyle. So if somebody is unable to come in and return an item, we have the outdoor book drop. The fee for a late item is an incentive to follow the rules for the borrowing that we've established under this bylaw. But really, a late fine is it's not representing the property, it's representing behavior. So I don't necessarily, I know that a lot of libraries are moving towards fee-less service, but then that doesn't teach anything about accountability or following rules. So I personally do not look towards eliminating all fees. I would rather give the staff the authority to reduce those fines when somebody comes in, or if they've got their borrowing privileges suspended because of those fines, we'll waive them. I know that life sometimes gets in the way, and that is just the nature of our business. So we would rather have people use the library than to have people driven away by something like a late fine from 2018. And by the way, within the last year, we did a broad spectrum amnesty for all late fines that were older than 2 years. We just got rid of them. Apparently, there's still some that are sort of niggling in the background in the integrated library service, but we're working on clearing those up.
I'm thinking of the Seinfeld issue where the librarian chased him 25 or 30 years later, and it was still a kind of a scary thing.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, to me, as libraries begin to switch, we would get into character or not. You're personally, you're not there. I understand that, so that's the reason for my question. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? So my question, as you mentioned a little bit earlier on, in 2018, you updated them, and the word I think was hastily that was used. Would you say that the update that was done this time is fairly reflective of what needs to be done? Is there anything that you feel in a year or two may be out of date, knowing that you can't predict the future?
But I have a crystal ball. No, thanks to COVID closures, I had a lot of time to go through the document and correct wording or simplify the wording or make things a lot more relevant to the purpose of the document.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Any other questions for Mr. Winston Smith or administration? Councillor Ballas?
Just want to make a motion.
Sure.
I move that council accept Drayton Valley Library Board's bylaws and schedules, DVLB-2021-01.
All right. Any comments, questions, or debate on that? All right. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
And you'll be excited to know that we have just completed our 5-year plan of service. That will be coming to council as information very shortly. It gets approved tomorrow.
Excellent.
So, thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. All right. So 8.4, community grants, second quarter allocation. Ms. Dreesen.
Yeah. We need our safety coordinator. We need some yellow strips. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, quickly on the community grants, of course, beginning of April was our second quarterly deadline for the applications for our community grants. We recognize a number of nonprofit organizations host events. We recognize as well, too, that COVID has restricted a lot of these organizations from hosting their events. However, in anticipation of being able to continue this September or into the summer and into September, we do have 2 applications that were submitted for council's review for this quarter. First one is from the Drayton Valley Community Foundation, looking at covering the costs associated with DV100. They are looking at running that program September 10 and 11. They're asking for up to $5,000 of funds. We already have an annual commitment of in-kind contributions of up to $5,000. And that would be things such as road cleaning, sweeping, setting up some barricades, parking signs, the flashing speed sign, bringing in bleachers, having our CPO available. So those are some of the in-kind contributions. I know that they also asked for similar contributions from Brazeau County with respect to the CPO and such. Second application is from the Drayton Valley Fine Arts Society, and that's to help with covering part of the costs of the artist fees for painting the mural on the collected building. That itself, we've sent a number of different opportunities for grant programs, and of course, the community events grant. She is eligible underneath the community events grant for that item as well. So the two applications are in front of council for review and consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Cool. Counselor? I think, I always have the preference of doing it in one motion, so then I think everyone will have an idea of whom is making the motion, knows where the allocations will be incomplete. And with only having two applications, it makes it a little bit easier. Counselor Dodds, did you have a question first?
Well, listen, I'll tell you, Mr. Mayor and Council, that I'm really excited about murals, as you know. And I really think I was looking at the artists that we celebrated today, and then there's been some communication about other murals and getting, and when I look at Bree Atkins and the Fine Arts Society saying, yes, we can do it, let's figure it out. And I was working on it last year, and we haven't advanced it. And I think part of it is that we need to get behind it, and that means that we need to spend some money. So I think what I would consider in this particular grant is that they asked for $1,000, that I would turn it around and say, well, let's give them $3,000, and then DV 100 will run its course. We'll figure out how to do that, right? And I think, and that's, by the way, is a paltry sum for what I think we are going to need to create this new mural community of sorts. But we need to get behind it. We talk about it, but we don't actually get behind it. So my view is that we consider starting right here, and then there will be further requests as we get through the summer. And we need, the GoFundMe page is currently at $4,487. It's a $15,000 touch. I can't imagine that we can't reach that goal. This would be a start. So just my view before we make the motion, because it can be confusing once you make the motion.
Counselor Ballas, you're clicking your pen over there. It tells me that you want to say something.
Just not sure on the allocation of the additional funds to the Arts Society without them requesting additional funds. Is that do we have the authority or to do that? We can? Yeah?
Yeah, we can allocate up to 5,000 as we see fit.
So even though they're not asking for more money, we can just give it to them? Okay, then I'm going to make a motion.
Okay. Well, just 1 second. Counselor Wheeler, did you have something you want to say before the motion?
Sure, why not? I just wanted to say that I support what Councillor McGee is putting forward in general. I think it's a great opportunity, and also because the DB 100 isn't for a little while. There's some other meetings and appointments that will come before then, so.
Okay. Counselor Ballas?
The DB 100, I think
Your microphone's off.
sorry. DB 100, I believe they're looking at expanding their program so that hopefully it's going to keep people in town for at least one additional night versus people just coming and leaving, because it does bring in a lot of people to town. So therefore, I would like to make a motion that council award the Drayton Valley Community Foundation $2,500 from the Community Events Grant to help cover the costs associated with hosting the DV 100 on September 10th and 11th, 2021, And that council award the Drayton Valley Fine Arts Society $2,500 from the community events grant to help cover part of the artisan fees for painting the Bison mural on July 15, 2021.
Okay, so the motion is for even Steven, $2,500 per applicant. Is there any comments, questions, or debate on that? Chuckles over there, you got something to say?
No, Solomon, I was just thinking, accept that baby in that.
All right. There's no comments, questions, or debates. Squints over there, you got something? You're squinting. I'm gonna start recognizing people for whatever.
We're not playing poker.
Okay, so the motion is for $2,500 for the Community Foundation and $2,500 for the Fine Arts Society. All in favor? That is carried. That brings us to 8.5, New Aquatic Center Amenity Sponsorship Rights Agreement for approval. Ms. Dreesen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the soon-to-happen construction of the new aquatic facility, the town, of course, is working with a local group, the Community Aquatic Facility Committee, with promoting the benefits of the new facility, encouraging local development, as well as providing an excellent opportunity for personal development and physical development. With the fundraising committee, we have a number of naming sponsorships that are available within the facility. And the newest one to come forward is confirmation from Ridgeback Resources Incorporated, signing an agreement in hopes of being awarded the naming sponsorship for the leisure pool. As council knows, Ridgeback Resources has already provided a funding contribution of $300,000. This was completed actually a couple of years ago, but this gives them the rights to the naming sponsorship for a period of 10 years. Funds, of course, have already been received. So the recommendation from administration is to present the agreement to council for approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for administration? Councillor Dodds?
Good morning. Could you just remind me where the period of the 10 years came from?
Thank you, Councillor. It is quite common in naming sponsorships, again, looking at other municipalities, that 10-year sponsorship is a general term.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a councillor that would like to make a motion on this? Councillor Gamana.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that council approves the sponsorship rights agreement between the town and the Ridgeback Resources Inc. as presented. Thanks.
Excellent. Councillor McGee?
The only thing that I'm thinking about is I see that Lightstream was the original, and then they've taken over by Ridgeback. Ridgeback recognizes that they've already had something in place. It's my sincere hope that they're excited about this particular issue, and it's just not a contractual agreement that we have to enter into because we signed an agreement, so what, right? But if it's Ridgeback High, or Ridgeback Pool, or, I mean, I think I hope they're excited.
Thank you, Councillor. I would share the same sentiment in terms of excitement. It certainly does appear that they have. I think that we've stirred on some of that excitement as well, too, because we have been reaching out to Ridgeback. It was part of the contractual agreement for sure, and I think that there was some hesitancy in terms of, well, has the construction started? I think now that with the construction just imminent, I think the excitement is starting to really build.
Yep. Excellent. If there's nothing else, thank you to administration for bringing this forward, and again, thank you to Ridgeback Resources, formerly known as Lightstream. They were investing in pools before investing in pools was cool, but now that it has finally come time, we do appreciate them being partners with us. So the motion is that council approve the sponsorship rights agreement. All in favor? That is carried. All right, so that moves us to our department reports. So we'll start with planning and development. Mr. Ellis?
Thank you, Mayor Dirksen, members of council. So planning and development, we got through our safety codes audit, and the Alberta Safety Codes Council said that we're looking pretty good, and thanked the town for its commitment to safety, and of course, further to last week's GMP meeting, we're working towards our full accreditation for the other safety codes disciplines, and that will include a community engagement component. So stay tuned in the next couple council meetings for that. Yeah, and just the regular day-to-day items. The building permit for the pool has been issued. We got hopefully some more permits coming in, but can't really say too much about that. And just, that's pretty much it, and just day-to-day inquiries and research and some enforcement activities. That's pretty much it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ellis?
Just a quick question, Mr. Mayor. I might have missed it. How many permits are we doing now? Or do we have an uptick? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Councillor McGee, I fortunately don't have an exact number. We can get that for you shortly. We should probably be on pace, I would think. It's about the same as last year, but that's just my guess right now.
So what excites me is that we actually have some people hammering nails and putting up additions and doing that kind of stuff. And so if that is up, then that's great.
Correct, because we got a new Wendy's restaurant coming in, and I know lots of people are excited about that. Particularly Owen.
Not naming names.
I like their Asiago chicken personally. I'm just throwing that out there. And then, of course, the new HW pickup school, and it's great to see our new aquatic facility for the town. So yes, it's much excitement in the next few months.
In our new streamlined process is working?
I'm sorry,
No, our new streamlined process where we got a.
correct, yes, we're pumping out permits. Small two-person department is punching above his weight and keeps pumping out permits, but yeah, it's working pretty good, thanks.
Good, thank you.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just make a comment with respect to the process. I can tell you without doubt that the aquatic IPD team has been ecstatic about the process of getting the development permit and the building permit approved in such a fashion and with such expediency. They normally say it's months for the city of Edmonton to approve a development or a building permit. So they've been very excited with the process we've had here.
Councillor Peebles.
Just a question about drinking beer surrounded by chain link fences that we have set up around town. So some of these patios, Kenny says we're going to have the best summer ever. So I'm assuming once some of these regulations get lifted, we're expecting some of these patios to go away. Are they temporary? Is there some allowances being made? Because I kind of like the outdoor patios. I think quite a few people are, and it's going to get nice out. So I kind of like that some of these people that don't have them have the ability to do it. I know between Adam and yourself, you guys made some allowances, you tried to speed up the process a bit, but in order for some of these guys to maybe have it reduced size but still have a patio, is there an opportunity for us to work with these guys to keep that going?
Thank you, Councillor Peebles, and I also enjoy having a wobbly popper too out on the patio on a warm summer's eve. The regulations that we have right now, we'll give them a week after the regulations are lifted to remove the patios. And we're willing to work with the restaurant owners. But we obviously can't see the temporary patios set up in parking lots, et cetera, stay there forever after the regulations are lifted. It's not intended to be a permanent solution. Once the regulations are lifted and the patios are removed, and one of the restaurants, or probably several of the restaurants, want to apply for more permanent patios, and we hope they do, then we'll absolutely guide them through that process as we do everybody else.
Great, thank you, and great job. I know you guys had to hunker down and just try to speed up that process, but it was great to see how quickly you guys got those patios up.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Gamana?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to comment on Councillor Peebles' comments there as well, hopefully without raising a pecuniary interest. But yeah, thank you very much. That process was great and it was fast and all that. And I appreciate how speedy it was. But, with Councillor Peebles' comments, going forward, if it is not in a parking stall or anything like that, maybe there's a possibility that it can be more permanent, right? So, and that discussions may come up after all of this goes away. So, yeah, thank you very much again.
Mr. Mayor, I was in the community, and I won't say where because I probably shouldn't have been, but in that community, they're actually reducing the road widths in the center of town with paving bricks, and so they're extending patios out for everyone, right? And everyone's taking advantage of it. It looks to me like it's going to be that kind of thing, and that community, the town is actually spending the money on the bricks and mortar to get it and reduce the parking and the roadway system, and I think that's exciting. So I'm with Councillor Peebles and Councillor Gamana.
Okay, Councillor Wheeler?
I just wanted to ask from a planning perspective if you've heard of a community that has almost like a summertime patio bylaw, where we might not want to see those all in the winter, and they might not want to take up all their parking space in the winter because everyone's indoors, but that they could put out stuff in the summer like that?
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Yes, there are communities, and I've researched them personally, and where I was before, our wonderful town of Drayton Valley was the city of Grand Prairie, and they have a program where it's not the patio that takes up the parking space, but the patio moves onto the sidewalk, and the business, they construct a temporary platform that takes up the parking space to replace the sidewalk that was taken away. So the sidewalk kind of goes straight and then deviates for a little bit around the patio and then goes back to the sidewalk. And there's communities out there that have done that in their downtown areas. And I think it would be a great addition for Drayton. But of course, that's, we would need engagement piece on that. And, but yeah, we can certainly look into that further.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to engineering. Mr. Olenek.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and esteemed council.
Morning.
I got a little bit to talk about here this morning. So on the engineering side for our sidewalk project, our trails and sidewalks, the contract is awarded, signed, and they'll be starting work, weather tentative, on May 17th. So stay tuned for all of that. The Omniplex Bridge abutment has passed, so we don't have to replace the foundation. So the bridge is currently being constructed as we speak. So that's going to be very exciting. Line painting, I'm meeting with the contractors this afternoon to sign the contract, and they're looking at having this completed in 2 weeks. So that'll be pretty fast, so I'm looking forward to that, because our roads definitely need to be touched up a bit. Utilities, we're fixing a few water valves as fluctuating temperatures are starting to drive the valves above ground. So I do appreciate the public and even some council concerns about some that have been noted, so those are going to be addressed here pretty quickly. We're preparing to fix a bunch of broken catch basins throughout town, because that's something that needs to be very much addressed as well. For Public Works, seasonals have started this week, and we'll have our full complement by the first week of May. Street sweeping, residential streets were done the beginning of last week, and also as well as public parking lots. All that's left really is for the downtown back alleys and the industrials, and then we'll just go to our summer maintenance program of just continually having the sweeper out, keeping everything touched up. And potholing is ongoing, and now with the seasonals coming, we'll be able to get them some flagging training so that we can start tackling the busier, higher flow traffic areas so that we can touch those up as well. So I'm open to any questions if you guys have.
Okay. Councillor Gamana?
Thank you for that update. Just wondering, do we still have that report a pothole thing still going? Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ballas?
In regards to line painting, Owen, has the type of paint been investigated? Is there an alternative?
Thank you, Councillor Ballas. So essentially, I'm going back to an oil-based paint that is still Transport Canada approved, and it'll be a little additional money, but definitely well within budget, that the 5 most busiest intersections of town, I'm actually having thermoplastic inlaid instead of just a paint overlay, and that would have anywhere from like a 4 to 6 year life cycle for that. So, and it's my plan, depending on where I'm at with the organization and how much ability I have to commit to this, is I'd like to see us slowly start to pick away so that we can slowly start overriding the thermoplastic with the oil-based paint. You know, we do the 5 busiest intersections this year. Perhaps next year we pick a road and we inlay the plastic. So this isn't this, we're doing this twice a year. It's we do it once and we're good for a number of years. So that's my hope anyway.
Councillor McGee?
Mr. Nolan, with the savings for our sweeping, we contracted last year and we whipped through it, and this year we were able to do it with our new machine. Do you have a ballpark number of that, what that might be?
Councillor McGee, you're talking the difference if we would have it brought in and contracted out? About 40 to 60,000 is what it would cost for us to have contractors in to do it.
Councillor Gamana, do you?
Sorry, yeah. Just a comment again. Last year and year before, we just heard about line painting and then painting over unswept roads. So just want to make sure that we are there and we are on the same page there.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gamana. Yeah, so I'm meeting with them to find out their schedule. So I'll have my sweepers go ahead, do the center lines, and especially around the intersections, go from gutter to gutter to make sure that, yeah, they're not painting over dust.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Wheeler?
For the community, if they are seeing an issue besides potholes, what's the best way for them to reach out to you guys?
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. So the best thing for them would be to phone the Public Works shop, and with Jen Garrick, our admin assistant, she can do the work orders, so it can be service calls. So, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything else? Councillor Peebles?
I saw you guys out with the hot box asphalt thing in front of my place over my neighborhood there the other day. How are you guys finding that thing going? I've noticed some of the crazy holes in front of the Baptist church aren't so bad either. So how are the guys finding that new piece of equipment?
Thank you, Councillor Peebles. It's a bit of a slower process. When you have to heat up the asphalt, it is about a 10 to 15 minute process to get it warm. So it is a bit slower, but they are finding that the potholes, it seems to be holding. Now keep in mind with the asphalt plants not being open right now, we're actually not using the product that we should. It's only what we can get. So once we get that, it should be a lot better. So the guys are actually taking a little more pride in it because it's not doing the same pothole once a week. They're actually starting to feel like they're going to get ahead of it. So.
Councillor Dodds?
Just a question at the four-way stop when you're heading down towards the Omniplex coming from, I guess, Mitch's, there, is when you're turning to go towards the Omniplex there was paving that was done last year at that intersection. And are we still waiting on a riser to be put there to come? Because I know that one was put, but I don't know if it had to have a double or what. I just noticed yesterday that it's still quite, quite low.
Thank you, Councillor Dodds. Yeah, it's definitely on the list. We do have that ordered, and then we're gonna break away the pavement and do rise it because, yeah, that's quite a hole to hit. So it's definitely on our radar.
Okay. Anything else? Perfect. We'll move on to, thank you very much for your time. We'll move on to Community Services and FCSS with Ms. Dreesen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. A few things under, first of all, FCSS. The home support program, we are looking for a home support worker. We still have the same demand for home support, even within the COVID restrictions. So advertisements have gone out and we are going through the selection process for that. May 11th is another workshop open to anybody who wants to just get some sort of coping and resiliency information with respect to mental health during a prolonged COVID pandemic. So again, mental health has been mentioned a few times today and every day. And so we just want to, again, reach out to community, let them know that we'll provide whatever assistance we can. Related to that, if you pull up to Tim Hortons, hopefully you get a cup that has the "You're Not Alone" stickers on it, which starts to promote the number of organizations and their phone numbers that would help anybody who is in need of assistance. Seniors Week, of course, coming up, but we can't do anything because of the restrictions, so we are continuing what we started with last year's program, the garden program, and putting together growing kits for seniors. And this is a partnership between Brighter Futures, Stetson's, and Aim for Success, and of course a number of volunteers who contribute their time to put the kits together and to help with delivering them. ECDC, I want to talk with Council later on in GMP about the federal budget and the announcement for the National Child Care Program, and a bit in terms of the provincial government's response to that program. And as always, we are always looking for casual staff at the ECDC, so if anybody knows of an individual who would like to help out at the Child Care Center, please have them contact Bernice Taylor. Working with the Recreation Committee and dealing with some good responses with Minor Ball, very active in terms of what's happening with improvements to the site, and working with Minor Ball in terms of an agreement that will see them helping out with the maintenance, maintenance, but certainly enhancement of the ball diamonds. This afternoon at 1, we get out the golden shovels and we do the groundbreaking ceremony for the new aquatic facility. I'm sure everybody will, there's probably a few people wondering why those two pieces of equipment on site right now aren't digging right now, but they will be soon. And the last thing under community services, just this morning we did receive confirmation of an offer of employment. Mr. Derek Starnes is a new Recreation and Omniplex manager. He'll be starting on May 17th, and we'll be setting up his list and task list very quickly. I have it formed in my head already, so looking forward to him coming on board May 17th. And that's my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councillor McGee?
Two questions, Mr. Mayor. Seniors Week's June 7th to the 13th. I'm going to stay connected to Points West and the opening of the SL4. A question about our new person hired for recreation, Derek. Is there like a sheet that you might have that you can ship around saying he's from somewhere and he's really good at stuff, or, I don't know.
Actually, Councillor McGee, that is a good idea. So now that he has accepted the position, we'll dig in from his resume and pull out some good points and send them out to everybody.
I got Counselor Wheeler. You're done, Counselor McGee? Okay. Counselor Wheeler.
Thank you. My comment or question is just in regards to the swimming pool. I've had a few people who have said they've phoned to try to book a private pool time, which is still allowed, and it's booked up all the way until the middle of May. They are super excited about it, obviously, but sad that they couldn't get in. So I'm just wondering if there's been any communications in terms of with the pool staff, if they'd be opening more hours up. I know there's a balance of the budget, but I think at a time like this, if we have some recreation that we can be offering and it's close to cost recovery, as a counselor, I would be willing to have the conversation of what that looks like. So.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. I will do that. I will ask about the pool. Otherwise, I'm going to fill up the curling rink with water and we'll go there. Okay.
Counselor Peebles.
How did the disc golf thing go? Was it yesterday or the day before?
I think it was yesterday.
No, I can't remember. But how did that go?
It went well. Thank you, Councillor Peebles. But we only had 5 people on the Drayton Valley's first talk show. Curtis Buchan, as always, did an excellent job in terms of explaining the sport and relating to the benefits behind the program, as well as paying attention to the concerns of the residents. We are actually going to go to the site again this Friday and just address some parking signs so people understand the parking requirements and where they can and cannot go. And then, of course, I know there's always a request for these park areas with respect to outdoor washrooms. We have in the past provided porta potties for certain locations. The difficulty we find ourselves in, of course, is with COVID, because we have restrictions with respect to COVID. But that's something that we can do down the road.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Breaking ground, 1 o'clock. Who's all attending? Do we have the 2 ministers and the MLA, et cetera?
Thank you, Councillor McGee. MLA Mark Smith will be on site. I'm waiting for a statement from Minister McKenna's office. We haven't seen anything yet. And Minister Panda, of course, is not going to be able to attend just because of the schedule. And then otherwise, we have our mayor and the Reeve from the county on site. And we will also have Lorraine Beta, who is the chair of the local fundraising group, present.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll move on to emergency services. Mr. Tom Thompson.
Morning, Mr. Mayor, Council. So this morning I'm here to go through the fire department stats for February and March. It's been a busy couple of months for the fire department. In February, we responded to 35 calls for service, 3 of which were fire calls. 2 of them were vehicles. One was a semi truck that the rear brakes caught fire, which caused a little bit of panic for the operator. We also responded to a pickup truck where they had a faulty block heater, which caused a fire in their engine compartment of the vehicle. In terms of structure fires, we ended up responding to 1, which was at a local concrete facility. Fortunately enough, the damage was contained to their office area, so they were still able to carry on with their operations out the back, which was, my opinion, was a really good save for the fire department. We were able to get in there and get that knocked down really quick, so that was a good win for everybody. In terms of motor vehicle collisions, we responded to 4 in total. 1 was a vehicle versus a semi. Unfortunately, the car rear-ended the semi, which ended up in a fatality situation. We also responded to a vehicle versus a moose, which resulted in minor injuries in that incident. And then we had a car sideswipe a semi-truck. Fortunately, the vehicle that sideswiped the semi sustained significant damage, but the occupants received relatively minor injuries in the incident, which goes to show you how cars are manufactured in terms of passenger safety now. So that was a positive. We also responded to a semi-rollover involving a semi-truck that was hauling cement slabs that resulted in minor injuries in that situation. In terms of rescue calls, responded to one, which again resulted in a fatality, unfortunately. It was to retrieve a victim that had fallen into a burning sawdust pile. So that was a difficult one for the crew to deal with that. We responded to 20 alarm calls, 10 of which were residential, which included anything from cooking mishaps to shower, steam, to people testing alarms and inadvertently sending the signal to their alarm company. So there was a whole host of different things. Responded to an alarm at an apartment building, which resulted in someone burnt their pizza and caused quite a bit of smoke. So we had to ventilate the whole apartment building, which caused some disruption for other tenants in the building. We had 3 alarms at our local schools, 2 of which were at the same school, and it was a result of them doing construction in the area, and the contractors didn't realize they were setting the alarms off by the dust that they were creating, so we responded twice to one school. We also had a pipe burst in another school, which resulted in us responding because of that incident and helping them clean up the water that was sprayed all over the place. In terms of commercial alarms, we responded to 5 in total, 4 of which were at the same location, and it was a faulty alarm panel. And the owners of that particular commercial building have been a little bit negligent, so we have been dealing with that through letters and through fines. We also responded to a shop on which a person decided it was a good idea to inadvertently turn their vehicle on with their remote starter and let it run in their shop, which created an alarm in their building. We also responded to one other one, which was a hotel alarm, and again it was caused by a faulty panel, and again this is another repeat offender, which we are dealing with through letters and through fining. That was a total of 20 alarm calls. Moving on to other agency calls, I responded to 4 in total, all of which were to assist EMS. I responded to 2 cardiac arrests, in which the crews were active trying to save the patient. Unfortunately, in both situations, they were unsuccessful. We responded also to 2 respiratory calls, one which was a senior that was having issues with her breathing, and so we helped EMS with that one. And then another one was the result of problems with COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, so we're helping with that one as well. In terms of miscellaneous calls, responded to 3 in total. 1 involved a ruptured pipe in one of our alleyways. That was we assisted Public Works in blocking the road off until they could get there and get that situation dealt with. We also responded to a carbon monoxide leak that was going off in an alarm that was going off in one of the local residences. And then we had a suspicious package call that was left at one of our local banks, that someone had left a suspicious powder. Turned out it was just construction dust and powder, but it caused a little bit of a stir for the employees at the local bank. And that took us through to February. In terms of March, we responded to 29 calls for service, 7 of which were fire calls. One was a vehicle fire where a semi-truck had caught fire, which we still don't sure on the cause of that one. We responded to a fire in a hotel room. That one is suspicious as the fire started in one of the bathroom area. So that is under investigation by our investigator and by the RCMP. We responded to a structure fire, which was an abandoned building, which we didn't know at the time, but the owner of the building allowed us just to let it burn to the ground as it was abandoned, and they wanted to get rid of it anyway, so that worked out for all the parties involved. We also responded to a fire at the landfill, which was relatively a small fire, and upon arriving on scene and speaking with the managers at the landfill, it was felt that they could deal with that. They had the equipment and the water truck to be able to deal with that one. We also then responded to 3 small grass fires. One, which was a little bit interesting. It was out at the gun range where a person was shooting at targets and missed the targets and then ended up causing the hill to catch fire behind the targets, which kind of gives you an indication of how dry it is out there. We also had a fire in a tree along one of the walking trails in town where we had some young individuals that were up to some mischief and ended up causing a fire in one of the trees. We ended up having to cut the tree down to be able to extinguish the fire. And then we also had another small grass fire along one of the roadways out in the county. In terms of motor vehicle collisions, responded to 3 in total. One was a single vehicle rollover, which the individual involved sustained minor injuries. We had another one was a vac truck rollover in which 2 patients were injured. One was transported to the hospital. The other one had received minor injuries. And the last one was a single vehicle collision on which 2 individuals were involved, and we suspect that alcohol was a factor in that collision. In terms of alarm calls, responded to 12 in total, 9 of which were residential. Again, the usual culprits were involved in those, and we responded to 3 commercial alarms. One was at one of the dealerships in town where they were fixing the furnace and set off their alarm system, and then we also had 2 that we responded to at our local RCMP detachment. They've been doing some renovation work over there, and the contractor set the alarms off twice over there. In terms of rescue calls, we responded to 1, which was to assist EMS to gain entrance into a residence where it was a person down situation, where they had the call alert device. So they activated it. They had fallen. They needed some assistance, so we had to assist EMS to gain entrance into that location. In terms of assisting other agencies, responded to 5 in total. 2 patients had suffered from strokes, so we assisted EMS with that one. We also had a young female that had an overdose, and so we responded to assist with that one. We then responded to a fight at one of the local hotels in which in the midst of the fight someone had set a fire, so we had to assist in dealing with that one. And then we also responded to assisting EMS with another individual that had fallen down some stairs and had received a head injury, so helped with that one. In terms of miscellaneous calls, responded to 1 which was called in as a gas leak. When we arrived on scene, we went into the building and didn't detect any gas. We used all of our equipment to see if we could find anything, didn't find anything. The individual that we were dealing with was very intoxicated, so we're thinking that the gas smell might have been something else that they were smelling. So, and that concludes my report.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Any questions? Councillor Ballas?
Maybe you just want to mention the donation? The donation?
I was going to present that at the next one as a formal decision. Sorry, I didn't have that one prepared. However, good news on a side thing, and we just got this notice this morning. The Solicitor General has approved our CPO to be a level 1 CPO officer. So Colton, I just got this text while we were in council, and we're now in the process of just finalizing all the paperwork, and then we will have a certified level 1 CPO officer in our community. So that's really good news for us.
Excellent. Councillor McGee?
Two quick questions, Mr. Thompson. One was is there a ballpark cost for responding to those, continuous folks that get you to come out and the panels and things like that, if you have a ballpark? Second question is, when you have a building that's burning down, you could use it as a training building. Is that something that you periodically put out a request for? If anybody's got any buildings they want burnt down, we'll give them a hand?
Sure. So I'll answer the first one first. In regards to alarms that are continuous, yes, there is a fee, and it's based on the Alberta Transportation fees for service. And for a pumper, for us to respond pumper, that's including the truck plus manpower, it's about $600. The issue that we run into with false alarms is we never know when the alarm comes in, if it is a false alarm, so we always have to ramp up like it is the real deal. That's why when they repeatedly happen in one place, that's when we go to the landowners and have a stern discussion in regards to either fining them for it or sending them letters, depending on where they are in the process. In regards to the second question, in terms of buildings and them being donated, there are some very tight restrictions around using buildings for fire training purposes. Safety, obviously, first and foremost. Depending on the building, most times we're unable to use it simply because of the materials that are in that particular building, in terms of asbestos, in terms of asphalt. All of those things are toxic. They're toxic to the environment. So we tend to not engage in those types of those activities with those buildings.
Councillor Ballas?
In regards to negotiations with the county in the training land, has that gone anything further?
I am planning to move that forward with county at their next council meeting. So yeah, I've already been in discussions with them about it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. And we'll move on to Safety and Protective Services with Shauna Law. Good morning.
Turn that on. Not going to take up much of your time, but I just wanted to touch base on the lawnmower maintenance program that they had. We had been working on the last year. 2 weeks ago, we had a virtual learning. Over the last year, they've gathered a lot of information. We did a lot of filming here, and they have a lot of information. They almost have 2 days of full training available. But so we did a virtual learning of it and kind of condensed some of the stuff. Last week we had trained the trainer from AMSA come out, and we had 4 of our workers attend and to give some feedback on the training and where they needed to, maybe cut back some. And it went really well. So gave some constructive criticism. Yeah, so they got to cut down the information a little bit, but all the information's there. We should be completed with our part of the training. We were going to have mayor and councillors available for a pilot project also this month, but due to the COVID restrictions and everything, that training has been canceled. So, but if you guys want any of the resources, anything to look at, there's some really neat programs out there that they have that they have built with an e-training plus the in-classroom. So that's about all I have. Busy, but just that was my big one on the go.
All right.
Finished.
Appreciate that. Any questions? Councillor Wheeler?
Just wondering if there's any updates or anything with COVID or staff or anything like that that have changed recently, or we're all good?
Yeah, no, nothing has changed recently, but, just keeping up on the health and safety of our workers and their families. It's a day-to-day process, and you never know when that call is going to come in. So I've been working really close with Annette and making sure that, we know what our workers are doing, and they have been very good about notifying us of any close contacts or whatever, or variant cases within their families or friends.
All right. Thank you very much for that. We will move on to our finance report with Elvira Thompson.
Hello again.
Hello.
We are getting ready for tax. I know I say the same thing for the last 3 times, but our Leah, our new revenue manager, she has done the ARB clerk training, so we're just waiting on someone from council to do it, and then we can form that board to be ready. And then I thought I would just clarify or maybe give some more information on some of the questions you had during Phil's presentation. And I know the big one seemed to be the cash. And so I thought I'd just explain it maybe a little more. So we spent quite a bit of money on capital projects, and we typically get our MSI funding every year, but in 2020, we did not get the actual funds in our bank until 2021. And the reason for that was because they were having some cash flow problems last year, and during the summer and over some of the transition, when they asked us if we were going to spend the funds in 2020, we did not respond with yes. And so they automatically deferred the payment of those dollars. So we just got them in the bank in March here. So we had $1.7 million in projects that were spent that we didn't have the money for. So it decreased our cash, increase our receivable. And then we have also what he mentioned was $3 million receivable from Small Communities Fund for the South Sanitary Trunk. So all that money was spent in 2020, $4.3 million spent. And some of the grant funding was received for other smaller grants, but most of that we don't have in the bank yet. So that made up the big part of that. And then of course the operating deficit as well. So we spent more than what we received in 2020. So that is one of the big reasons why our cash was low. What else are we working on? That's everything I have written down that I wanted to go over, but if you had any questions on either the financial statements or otherwise.
Any questions? No? Yeah, no, it's, I guess we still have another budget meeting next week and then passing of our final budget. So I'm sure any questions we have will come out at that time. That leaves us with our CAO Administration Capital Projects Update. Ms. Dreesen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. A few things have already been mentioned, so I just have a few other ones to highlight. Of course, as the mayor just mentioned, budget preparation, so for April 27th, we'll be sitting from 9 to 3, taking a look at the final budget items. And of course, special council meeting on May the 5th for the budget approval. Capital projects are well underway. Largest one this year, of course, will be with the aquatic facility. But some smaller ones in terms of finishing off items from 2020, such as the Ball Diamond proposal. We also have a fair amount of smaller projects on the go. Again, recognizing that this is, well, I guess what you might call a slim year for capital budgets. The enforcement activities, again, it's not an item or a task that is always something we want to do, but we are indeed moving forward with taking a look at enforcement with some of the unsightly premises within our community. As our CPO and the health inspector move around the community and looking at items, It, of course, alerts neighbors to be aware of. And so I've mentioned to the staff that we can expect that we will see more and more of these requests and these comments coming in. So when they see a uniform and a CPO looking around at sites and taking pictures, it certainly does alert them to saying something is happening. And with something happening, it usually gets their attention. And so we can expect to see more of these coming in. And of course, the discussion about the patios, and yes, working with Matt Ellis and his team in planning and development to see, and again, thanks to them and to communications for the fast response and getting something out, and continued work as we try to help out our businesses with doing business. And the last thing I want is just to say a big thank you to our administrative professionals. This is Administrative Professional Day. And I just want to thank everybody in our team, whether it's in the Omniplex or ECDC or Public Works office, any of those, RCMP office, as well as within our own Civic Center, to thank all of our administrative professionals. I know I couldn't do my job if it wasn't for those individuals, so thank you. And that's my report. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Dreesen, any questions? Seeing none. All right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on to our council reports. You see Deputy Mayor Gamana has stepped out, so I'm going to skip over to Councillor McGee.
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't think I have anything to add that would add value to this group at the moment.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Councillor Wheeler.
We had an FCSS board meeting and did allocate out some more funds to some of our community groups, but there is still a little bit left. So if anyone has a project or something they're working on, please reach out to FCSS and see if their application could fit there. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ballas.
Thank you. Everybody seems to be very brief, so I'm maybe a little longer. On the 25th of March, we had an Economic Development Committee, chaired by Councillor McGee. 26th, an RCMP survey results. Then on the 29th and 30th, sat in as an observer for mediation. 31st, we had the PSF, which is Police Safety and Fire Committee meeting, education presentation in the afternoon. And then on April 1st, Alberta Hemp Alliance met with the MLA Mark Smith. On the 6th, a discussion with Pembina people in regards to public works in the Pembina building. And then on the 7th, another call with Mark Smith, MLA. And the 13th, Alberta Hemp Alliance, again. On the 14th, GNP. On the 15th, 16th, and the 14th, AMA Leadership Caucus. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Peebles.
Thank you, Worship. We had our mediation wrap-up sessions on the 29th and 30th. It's led to joint arbitration. So hopefully, at least we know where it's going. April 12th, I had a homelessness and poverty meeting, and this has been very, very interesting to sit on. I am very passionate about poverty reduction. And the homelessness thing is something that we need to address as a community. And what we're finding is that there's a number of people with different passions and different ideas on to how to approach this within our own community. And if it wasn't for COVID, we would have already done it. But we're trying to get all those stakeholders that are positive impact people all at the same table to talk about what area of passion they have, what they can provide, what they can't, so we can get a spectrum for what we as a community are actually equipped to offer. It seems that we're trying to be all things to all people sometimes, and it's a big strain on the committee to try to figure things out, and there's a number of things. And also, our definition of homelessness is different than the committee's. I think the average Joe, when they think homeless, they think, I have no place to sleep. The definition of homelessness for this group really is that you could be a couch surfer, you could just not have a stable place that you call home. There's a number of things. So lots of times when we hear those numbers and how high they are, it's not actually a true reflection of what the average Joe would call homeless, as opposed to people that really are insecure in their housing. And there's tons of overlap into poverty as well. But there's some schools that are interested in seeing how they can help provide. I know talking to some of the schools, they're having a lot more food taken from because they always offer sandwiches and apples, and the food seems to be going down a lot quicker than it used to be. So there is some people that are really struggling in poverty. And I think this is a community thing where together we can lift them up out of it. So the Homelessness and Poverty Committee are not saying they're the final authority, the ones with the greatest understanding of how to address these issues. They just want to be able to facilitate it. So I'm looking forward to some more ideas that are coming to the table. On April 20th, that was yesterday, we had a meeting with Tim Schultz, the Chief of Staff for the Ministry of Agriculture, regarding getting some funding for the Alberta Hemp Alliance. It went very, very well. And we know that there's going to be a ribbon cutting in the next little while for the Decorticator with Dan Madlung, but it's looking like the ask was $200K for the first year to get us going as we build the Alberta Hemp Alliance. And there's a lot of work that went into prepping that, as Councillor Ballas spoke to, prepping the presentation, prepping all the details we need. And we have been told that they will formalize a working relationship with the ministry, with the Alberta Hemp Alliance. So we're going to work together on things. Now we're just looking for some of the funding. So I appreciate all the support that we've had from Drayton Valley, because if Drayton Valley hadn't jumped on this, we wouldn't even be talking about it, and the ministry wouldn't be talking about this. So that's my report.
All right, thank you very much. And Councillor Dodds is also not here at this time, so I will skip over to my update. As mentioned, we did have mediation on March 29th and 30th. And as someone recently said to me, that it went so well that we're going to arbitration. I believe that's what a press release said. So I do think that arbitration will be a step in the right direction, so we can just have a judgment as to what is fair and equitable in the eyes of a third party, and then we can just move on with building a community with our partners, our municipal partners, I should say. March 31st, was present in an education presentation to a number of other municipalities. I don't recall now. I think there was upwards of 20 or 25 people on that call, all from different municipalities, and we're just giving them a high-level overview of what the town of Drayton Valley has done on the education front, and I think we just need to start getting that out there if we want our education portfolio to really grab root. We do need to liaison with the communities that are neighboring us to help spread the word, and hopefully allow, or not to allow, but have their students either take courses through what Drayton Valley is offering, or even use our facilities. So that was a good education on education. April 7th, I did have a phone call also with the Office of the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry in regards to where we're at with Weyerhaeuser's request on the FMA agreement. I think that will, to date, they're leaning in the favor of Drayton Valley, at least to in part to make sure that our concerns are heard and grant us a little more time to see what options we have available to us. And then April 14th, we had our budget meeting, as well as a GMP meeting, where some high-level things were discussed, but I look forward to having even more discussions next Tuesday. Now that we have our audited financials from 2020, we have a better idea of where we are sitting financially, and should allow a little bit more information to move forward with for our 2021 budget. And that kind of wraps up everything that I had to say. So we will move on to our information items. 11.1, Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting minutes for December 7th, 2020. 11.2, Drayton Valley Municipal Library 2020 financial statements. 11.3, Sustainability Committee meeting minutes, January 27th, 2021, and March 5th, 2021. 11.4 Drayton Valley RCMP stats, February and March 2021, and 11.5 Drayton Valley Brazeau County Fire Service stats for February and March of 2021. Can I get a motion to accept those as information? Councillor Wheeler, all in favor? That is carried, and we will adjourn our meeting at 11:36.